Hey, welcome back to another time lapse art video. And I just wanted to have a topic, talk about a topic that, you know, um, is not tired and dead, and definitely no one's talked about this. It's a very unique topic that no one has ever said anything about. The Disney remakes. Have you guys heard of these? Um, who knows what these are? Super obscure. No one's heard. What's a Disney? I don't even know what that is. Um, but yeah. So I just wanted to talk about it because I was talking to someone the other day about it, and there's one thing in particular about the Disney remakes that really bother me. But I do kind of just want to like give my 2 cents about it and talk about it because storytelling. I'm super passionate about storytelling, and so it's important that I mean Disney's a huge deal. I mean Disney's been a thing for a long time, and one of my favorite art styles, anime. Not only that, I love the art style of Disney, but also anime influenced the art style or Disney influenced the art style of anime. Which means we have a whole art style in this world based off of what Disney has done. So, huge deal, you know. Anyway, wanted to bring up something specific. Number one, what's the why even do a remake, right? I mean, we can get into the fact that it's just kind of a foolish idea. The whole slogan of, oh, we're doing this for a new generation. I mean, animation is in such a medium that it is kind of timeless. So a new generate, it's just not a good excuse. I don't understand why that's the excuse for the remakes. The excuse for the remakes is actually money. They just want to make money. But the thing is, if you think business wise, you're not going to think artistic wise. And artistically, there are just some fundamental disadvantages to doing a remake of something. And man, one of those disadvantages is that you're playing in someone else's toolbox. These Disney movies are so beloved. So like people grew up loving these movies, showing them to their children, showing them to their grandchildren. These are huge movies. I mean, if you're gonna remake something, you are welcoming comparison to the originals. Which in some cases, and the thing is, there are disadvantages to doing a remake, generally speaking, of anything. But that's not to say that remakes shouldn't be done. Remakes, there have been good remakes out there. And you can do something different with a remake where you kind of, I mean, it's something similar to an adaptation of like a book, for example, but it's not the same as an adaptation of a book. Because an adaptation of a book, you kind of have to retell something in a different way to give the same feel, or maybe you want to say something new or different or distinct from the book. And you can do different things in a visual medium. But if you're telling a story that's the same story in the exact same medium, man, there's only so much that you can do to keep it fresh. Now you still can. I think you can manage it, but it's just it's ill-advised because people are gonna try to compare it to the original, and you're just welcoming those comparisons, and it's just not very smart from an artistic perspective. And of course, Disney's not doing it because they want to be artistic at all. They're doing it because they want to make money. But just critiquing it artistically, it's just not very wise to do that. And not only that, you don't have a particular freedom that you would have if you're just creating your own work. If you create your own work, you have the freedom to freely express whatever it is you want to express without using the sandbox that someone else has made. You get to make your own sandbox, which allows for creative freedom, and creative freedom is the lifeblood that makes creative work really work, is the freedom of the artist, because ultimately art is just expression. Um, So, you're already kind of handicapping yourself by, doing a remake, just generally speaking. But there's one specific example I wanna talk about, which is the Lion King remake, which was a shot-for-shot remake of the original, which to me is just the dumbest thing you could possibly do. Not only is it a shot-for-shot remake, it's a quote, unquote, "live action" version, but it's not live action because they're lions, and so it's just CG, even though the style is live action. Now, what they were able, I don't, what they were able to do technically is really brilliant in that movie. However, there's one scene that really gets at what I wanted to talk about, and it's the scene that's after the elephant graveyard when Simba was attacked by the hyenas. In the original, Mufasa has a conversation with his son, and there's a line that Mufasa says to his son. Simba realizes that, oh man, I was a fool to try. I was shooting above my pay grade, and I was foolish. And so, he says this line where he goes to Mufasa and he says, "I just wanted to be brave like you," and Mufasa says, "I'm only brave when I have to be." And in the original, Mufasa says, "I'm only brave when I have to be," right? It's like an exhausted father who's trying to explain something to his son, right? Because Mufasa is not just a good king, he's a good father. He loves his son. In the remake, I think they had to direct, it's the same voice actor. It's still James Earl Jones doing the voice, but they direct him to sound more cold and distant, where he goes like, "I'm only brave when I have to be." Like he's a stately figure. You're saying something fundamentally different about Mufasa's character just by performing exactly the same words, word for word, but you perform them differently. And I think the reason why the voice was directed differently was because the lions don't have emotions in their faces when they're speaking. So they're like, oh, the voice needs to match the faces, which are more bland. But it's like the whole point of the story was conceived for animation. If you don't want to do 2D animation for this story, you really shouldn't redo the story at all because you're welcome in comparison to the original. If it's not expressed as well as the original, then you shouldn't do it at all. And to me, Lion King's one of my favorite films. It's an amazing film. Man, you really can't beat. I don't think like you could watch Lion King. I don't think it's aged a bit. It hasn't aged one bit in my mind. So I don't understand why they needed to remake that and do that. But it's a perfect example of how uh, a movie is different. You can take the same line. Anyway, I've made my point. Whatever your emotions are about it, say it down in the comments. Goodbye.